What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, it turns out we do indeed have a Nintendo Direct airing tomorrow morning, and it's a big Direct. It's actually one of the longest Directs we've ever seen that wasn't a console-specific reveal Direct, and because of this, it has people buzzing about all kinds of games that could be there, and in fact, some games are already being teased, and there's a lot of stuff kind of circulating. I figured we'd have some fun, go over that, and also make some predictions ahead of that Direct here today. Also, we are going to be talking about PlayStation Plus, as we did have games revealed for both Extra and Premium, and we did have that Acclaim event that showed off some smaller and, we'll say, unique looking titles, all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below, and of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below, and we're going to start today with Xbox Cloud Gaming. So, we've had this for a while, and we've been hearing about updates here and there around even your own library of titles that you own being streamable, but the question keeps coming up around latency and even just image quality. Well, now we're starting to maybe see some movement of part of that. This we can see over on Pure Xbox, as they're quoting, this is Better Xcloud or Red PHX over on Twitter X, saying new Xbox Cloud Gaming streams resolution found. So there's a 720p high quality, a 1080p high quality, and a 1440p. Now, this doesn't necessarily confirm anything really, as this could be for testing maybe in the code, but this is something that Microsoft, I think, has to really improve on, especially if they're going to make it a viable option with how expensive these consoles are now, and we expect them to get as we go along into the next generation. At least a good way to experience some of these titles for people could be, yes, streaming, as that would at least be a low barrier of entry. We even had an announcement that some cars are going to be able to stream Xbox games here in the near future. So if Microsoft can at least figure out the latency and the image quality issue that they still have and match up to, I don't know, what we had with Stadia years ago, that I think would be a step in the right direction and might convince some people to maybe check it out more, especially as it gets closer and closer to maybe that native experience or that good enough experience. Mostly for the mainstream, as I know, I'm sure many people who are really into gaming would prefer that native gaming experience, but I'm sure there are also many people who are like, ooh, I don't have to buy the console, just maybe a controller, sign me up. Also, we did have an announcement that Sonic Racing Crossworlds will be getting a single-player offline demo. This we can see over on Gamatsu, where they say Sega will release the single-player demo for Sonic Racing Crossworlds. That's on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, Switch, and PC through Steam and Epic Game Store. This will be September 17th, midnight Eastern Time. And while they won't have, unfortunately, a demo for the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, it's still slated to release alongside the other versions on September 25th. And then we'll have the Switch 2 version releasing, they just say still this holiday. So we'll see what's going on there with that. But I mean, this is good news, because people were calling for just the ability to play it more after that network test. Some people were really, really into it. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but a single player demo where it's not necessarily set up as a schedule or anything, or just a limited time event like that, makes it a bit easier to download it than get to it when I can. But I think I'm going to check the game out when it releases anyway, because I think this is something that Sega is really lining up nicely to where they can almost have their own Smash Brothers-like setup with this racing game, where they'll have these different guest characters come in and kind of remind people of older franchises that they've had dormant for a while, as they are also, it seems like, really interested in reviving some of these things. Might be a good way to reintroduce it, or even introduce it to for the first time to a new generation. Oh, and for all the parents out there, Sony has now introduced an application that will definitely annoy your kids who want to play their PlayStation 5, the Family app. Now they have some images and also some quick animations over on PlayStation Blog here, where they detail some of the functionality, where straight from your own supported mobile device, which they have on an iOS App Store and Google Play for Android, you can do things like check their activity report, you have more visibility into what their kids are playing, and you can also approve extra playtime requests. There is an animation where one person is taking away playtime, which is significantly more convenient, I feel like, than what my parents had to do, which was take away the power cord. Yeah, that's how it was. You still had your Super Nintendo, but no power cord. So you just had to look at it, lifeless there on the floor in front of the TV, unable to be used. Those were the days. But now, hey, just right from your phone, hit the minus button a couple of times and they'll be off the PS5 because it'll just lock them out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with that massive Nintendo Direct that's happening tomorrow. I say massive because it is longer than the typical Direct and would actually more match up to the Switch 2 Direct we had not too long ago, where Nintendo had to show off a bunch of games, features for the system, and then the console itself. So that was a lot to do in 60 minutes. Well, seems like they're going to do it all over again here, just without the new console. This would be all about the games, and in fact, we can see this over on their official account, where they say, join us on September 12th, 6 a.m. Pacific. Ooh, tough for West Coast time people there. For a Nintendo Direct, tune in for roughly 60 minutes of information on upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 and Nintendo Switch games. Now, according to, this is over at Necro Felipe, mentioned that in Brazil, the Direct has also got an 18+ rating, so you start to think about maybe different third-party games that could be there that would also get that mature rating, and after Star Wars Outlaws, who knows? You could have anything show up here, as people are pretty high on this system's capabilities now after seeing that port, so if we just want to throw Ubisoft in there real quick, hey, Assassin's Creed Shadows seems like it makes sense here. It's already been rumored and discussed, so there you go. Throw Assassin's Creed Shadows in here. However, Metroid Prime 4, it's been pointed out, was also rated very recently in Brazil. We already have other ratings like for the ESRB, and I think we all expect by now that Metroid Prime 4 will finally be dated here. I mean, it has to be, right? So there's a Switch 1 and Switch 2 game for you. Remember, we will see Switch 1 games here, so keep an eye out for those logos popping up, as Nintendo had to sort of introduce this to us in the last Direct, that you will see Switch 1 and Switch 2 logos depending on, of course, which platform that game is going to. But Prime 4 should cover both bases there, and I'm sure it'll look really, really good on the Switch 2 when it finally comes out. But I'm curious to see what other mechanics or gameplay elements they want to announce here for it, or if they also want to tell us about, I don't know, a dedicated Direct for it, maybe after this big general Direct happen a week or so before it comes out. That would be awesome, because I do think it'd be good to have that kind of a boost for a Metroid Prime, a new entry for Metroid Prime, as well as, I don't know, 2 and 3 making its way to the platform. Maybe that would be a good shadow drop. One of those, then the other one comes out a week or so later ahead of Metroid Prime 4, which I still think should come out, I'm going to estimate, end of October, right at the beginning of November, okay? Just after Pokemon Legends EA, but just before Kirby Air Riders releases. So, because this Direct is the day before the Mario 40th anniversary, we're already seeing some hints get thrown around for some kind of Mario reveal. Go figure, it's, again, anniversary is the next day. Like Andy Robinson says, I'm in a big mood, Mario mood this week. And then we're also seeing Kirikasa say, world no, galaxy yes. So from there, people have kind of piled on and speculated with the idea that maybe Galaxy 2 does get a remaster / remake of some kind, or just like a very quick release onto the platform. And maybe the Mario movie, that could be Galaxy themed. That's possible. I mean, for me, at this point, if we're talking about the Mario 40th anniversary, something to show off for the movie, because that's going to be big for next year. Probably merchandise, let's be real. And then most likely a couple of games. I like the idea of the Galaxy 2 remaster, remake kind of treatment. But then, I mean, we need the next big 3D Mario game. In fact, I think that's a great way to close out this Direct. Hey, there is a big 3D Mario game coming in 2026. Get ready. Otherwise, hey, Mario Bros. Wonder, that could use a Switch 2 update patch, I think now, right? That's a good-looking game already on the Switch 1, but now picture it with some graphical upscaling and stuff, and all of a sudden, here's a 4K 60 FPS game running across the screen. Some other third-party stuff in mind, Final Fantasy VII Intergrade, and then Elden Ring should have release dates here. They've already both been shown off in person. While Elden Ring hasn't gone over the best online at these events, it seems like Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is going over very well, and it seems like it's ready to go at this point. So we'll see how Square wants to tackle that. I'm sure they game keycard, but most likely with a release, I figure, before the end of this year to make it for the holiday season. Also, all 6 RE Engine Resident Evil games, including Requiem, are reportedly coming to Switch 2. This is a headline over on VGC, and I saw it. I said, wow, They're just going to rapid fire these things. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, Capcom, it would make sense for them to do that. They've already moved some of these games around, even going backwards to the PS4. Although Requiem is the one that I'm most interested to see, and it might be the most impressive port if Capcom can pull it off for the hybrid system. Although this does come way of Dusk Golem, where they say they've been working on porting all the RE Engine Resident Evil games to Switch 2 for a hot minute now. Requiem should be landing on Switch 2 as well. There's grapevine rumor that there's a Nintendo Direct this week, and RE7 is going to be there at least. And I jokingly mentioned that RE7, that would make sense. That'd be one of those weird out of left field announcements to go along with that 777 rumor for these different games themed around that. But yeah, there you go. Capcom could just have a sizzle reel almost. Here's Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, Biohazard, whatever. All these Resident Evil games are showing up. That'd be kind of crazy to see, but I mean, hey, if Capcom wants to make these moves and get things rolling, that's kind of how you do it. A Pokemon spinoff has also been rumored. That's an interesting one. I guess like Pokemon Ranger or Mystery Dungeon, as Necro Felipe has been talking about this quite a bit alongside of some other, we'll say Pokemon leakers or insiders there. And we do need release dates for Age of Imprisonment and Splatoon Raiders. Now, I'm going to throw one out there. I want to just put a couple predictions if I can here, okay? I'm not doing a big prediction show for the Direct, but I want to throw a couple things in there. One, big first-party franchise gets a new title. I'm going with Star Fox. I've thought about the idea of Ubisoft letting the Starlink team tackle this alongside in collaboration with Nintendo. I think that could be pretty cool, but also Nintendo could want to go in a different direction with Star Fox. As we've heard, the way that some development works with inside Nintendo, they come up with a gameplay concept, and then they take a franchise from the past to even revive it and then attach that gameplay to it. So maybe that's something to do with Star Fox. Lean into the Star Fox Adventures style, where it also has that 3D platforming action adventure to it, and then you do have R-Wing sections to fly around in as well. Monolith Soft, I think it's time for them to show up with whatever this next big thing is they're working on. And while they're at it, hey, drop some Switch 2 patches for all these Xenoblade Switch games. I need it. I need that 60 FPS patch for Xenoblade Chronicles X. Please. But let me know your best predictions or your most wanted game down below in the comments. And apparently Nate's going to have a predictions episode for this Direct at some point today, so keep an eye on the Nate the Hate channel so you can see all about these games that are definitely guesses from Nate. Yeah, I'll just keep an eye out for that one. But it should be a lot of fun. 60 minutes for a Direct tomorrow, again, leading into the Mario 40th anniversary. Should be a pretty packed show. It should be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to it. I think what I'm gonna do tomorrow, though, is maybe I'll put some kind of video out ahead of time. I don't know. I might just wait until the Direct, and then we just do a big reaction video to it after the fact, since Newswave would have come out an hour before, and it might as well wait and really do a big roundup of all the stuff that was there and some of my thoughts on it. I think that's going to be the path forward for tomorrow. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers, as we did have the games that were announced for September. And along with this, we did find out at least about the classic title. That's right, singular. Classic title that's going in. So let's start over here at PlayStation Blog, and we can see these games will be going into the service starting September 16th. And we can see at the top here, starting off, WWE 2K25, that's on PS5 and PS4. Not terribly surprising because 2K24 went in prior to this, so I don't know if they have some kind of a deal figured out, which is like 2K and stuff for this, to have these wrestling games go in as they've been out for a while, and you know what happens with sports games or these kind of games, they lose their value over time. Although I think the wrestling games hold up a bit better, because you know they're never getting any kind of remake or anything, and these mechanics do actually change a fair amount, you know, every so many years. From there, we have Persona 5 Tactica, PS5 and PS4. We have Green Hell, that's PS5 and PS4. Fate Samurai Remnant, PS5 and PS4. Crow Country, which I keep seeing this game pop up. I have not played it yet on the PS5 and the PS4. It's always looked so interesting to me because it is they're trying to recreate sort of the PS1 visual 3D style, like the older style. And I do still like the look of that. And yes, it is very nostalgia driven, but it looks like a kind of an interesting and very unique game. Then we have The Invincible. That's on PS5, and Conscript, that's PS5. Now, moving up to PlayStation Plus Premium, we have one classic game, and that's Legacy of Kain Defiance, PS5 and PS4. I want to first say, this is a good game to go in. Legacy of Kain Defiance is awesome. Great to see this PlayStation 2 classic going in with all the bells and whistles of the emulation that they have. Awesome. My one gripe is it's just like, it's one game. It seems strange for them to do that with the premium tier. I know that also has things like with like streaming in there, trials. I think most people look at premium. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments. I feel like people look at that as this is the classic, the nostalgia tier. So if you want those classics, you subscribe to premium. That's most of the value that people are seeing in it. So if that's the case, I feel like you have to show up to, come to the table with a bit more than one PS2 game for the month. I mean, even if you throw a PSP game in there, a PS1 game, just something else to add some additional content and value there. Again, good game, Legacy of Kain Defiance. That's awesome, but just a little more. Otherwise, though, not a bad month. I mean, the big headline title still being that numbered kind of sports game, sort of, with WWE 2K25 isn't necessarily going to be great for everyone, but I do get a kick out of the wrestling games, and while I play 2K25, I played it on the Xbox. It's still fun to just have that thrown in there on the PlayStation 5. I can download it on a whim and jump into it if I want there. But let me know what you think about the extra and premium games here for September. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about that Acclaim event that happened yesterday. And as I was watching it, I kind of think Acclaim's strategy here is to become sort of like a Devolver Digital, in that there's going to be mostly an indie games publisher, which isn't a bad thing, but maybe I was expecting something a little different from Acclaim here. However, there were a couple of games that did catch my interest, so we'll go over this now. Actually, let's start at the top here, and that's with Tossdown. That's from the developer Fur Factor. It's on PC and consoles. We're waiting for any kind of release on that. It says deliver packages in a world where everything's out to kill you. There you go. Ground Zero Hero, that's from Rowan Edmondson. That's PC and consoles. Says an action roguelite with light survival elements set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Basketball Classics, which looks kind of funny. It looks like I guess like Double Drill, but on the Atari almost. This is from Namo Gammo. It's a 5-on-5 again, pro basketball game. And it says out now on PC and coming soon to Nintendo Switch. We have Pixel Washer, that's Valadria, that's PC and consoles. Says you wield your trusty washer and you'll spray your way through a variety of exciting challenges. And we have The Prisoner Fletcher's Quest. That's from Elden Pixels, PC and console, still waiting for a release on that one. And they say after a visit to the psychologist that goes horribly, I mean, everything's going wrong. You must escape your perilous mental prison in a Metroidvania drenched in anxiety based on a very true story. Then we have Grid Beat, that's from Ridiculous Games, PC and consoles. It's a rhythm-fueled cyber dungeon crawler where every move must match the music or risk total system shutdown. We have Talaka, and that's from Potato Kid, PC and consoles, fast-paced, combat-driven roguelite. Yeah, a lot of roguelite here. And then we have Hyper Yuki. This is the snowboarding game that popped up and I said, oh, that looks kind of like SSX. And it says, welcome to the Snowboard Syndicate. Race, compete, and explore the slopes as a colorful cast of unique characters. I still like some of these studios going for the cel-shaded look like this. I think these kind of games stand the test of time. And while you still look at it as an indie title, it does at least have a look to it where you can go, oh, it's kind of like that AA style game. But anyway, Hyper Yuki Snowboard Syndicate, I'll keep an eye out for that one. It looks kind of interesting. Still waiting for a release date on that one, consoles and PC. And then the closeout they had here was Catanaut, and this is a fast-paced Metroidvania-inspired action roguelite, blending fluid combat and cosmic horror. And it was quite bloody, and it is out now on PC. Consoles coming later on. I guess when I first saw it, I was like, okay, it has that 16-bit style to it, kind of, and then also has this blasphemous feel as well. So, I mean, looks kind of cool, I guess. I keep playing, there's Metroidvania games keep popping up with roguelite elements. It's a pretty common thing across the board, definitely in the indie scene. I will say that at least sets itself apart a bit with the art style and some of the combat that they have in there, but that was Acclaim's event. Again, I think looking at it, this is like their first event since their revival, and Acclaim's come and gone a couple of times now. Here, though, they at least seem to have a solid selection of titles that they're publishing, and that seems to be their strategy going forward. Smaller indie titles, but kind of casting this wide net. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, of these Mario games, which was the first one you played? Okay, Super Mario Brothers on the original Nintendo, 58%, then Super Mario World, then Super Mario 64, then Super Mario Sunshine. This is a kind of an issue though on YouTube where I would love to put a bunch of a bunch of answers in there for you guys to the question, but I'm given 4 because I saw people were like, oh, the Wii, that was the first, or on the DS. Yeah, I get that. And I kind of thought about it. I was like, maybe I should take Mario Sunshine out and put something else in from because I was really curious about the Wii generation to see how many people right now are watching on the Wii was their first Mario game, because I think we tend to forget how old the Wii is. And you think about it, it's like 2006. That wasn't that long ago. Yeah, that's going to be 20 years next year. So again, you kind of has a retrospective like, whoa, we really are getting old. And then we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Rabbles, who says, reactions to a Nintendo Direct announcement will never be the same again without the mandatory Silk Song memes. Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? With the Direct getting announced, 60-minute Direct, by the way, that would have had Silk Song written all over it. People would have been commenting, the clown wig would have come out with that meme, and now it's just quiet on the Silk Song front because people are playing it right now. So I guess we kind of have to go back to the tried and true, old reliable Mother 3. That's it. That's what we kind of have now. I mean, unless you think Valve's going to show up with Half-Life 3, we kind of have to default back to Mother 3 at this point and just keep asking Nintendo for it. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you want to hear more about my thoughts around this big 60-minute Nintendo Direct coming up. I did a quick video about it yesterday as well as the news was breaking, and I'll leave that right below it. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.